This little area is known as Stirling Gardens in Guildford. There's a lovely historical church called St Matthew's Anglican Church. As we just walk away from the church and walk up the lovely little pathway, we can reflect on the town of Guildford as they show plaques and information on what Guildford used to be. The sugar gums of Guildford, and here they are here, lovely and tall, reminiscing about the days. Nice little rose gardens. There were toilets, and nearby is area called Alfred's Kitchen. Nice little, guess you'd call it a little train railway carriage, which they've made into a kitchen where you can have meals at. A lovely little area showing sections of the first lighthouse of the war, the lighthouse statue of Guildford, showing Gallipoli, Egypt, Sinai and Palestine, Syria, and Guildford Mandoon. I'm not sure what that's representing from the war, as we're in Guildford. And this tells you a little bit more about West Australia's great war horses when they were formed for the 10th Light Horseman Horse Regiment. They either supplied their own horses or they were donated or purchased by the army. As we just continue along the pathway, we have historical buildings of the post office, the old jail, police station and old jail, which I believe that you can view on special days, and the Tourist Bureau Business Information Centre, which tells you information on Guildford, surrounding areas. There is a historic town walk that can be done as well, with very informative plaques that can be viewed. Guildford in Western Australia has some lovely old buildings. One of them being the Guildford Post Office in its original state, original design. The clock tower as a clock tower. I found this little plaque about it. It's sort of very interesting to actually read that sending a letter from here in the river port of Guildford downstream to Fremantle cost sixpence, while the shorter trip to Perth attracted a fee of 2p. Mail services ran between Perth and Guildford twice a week. It was not until 1897 that the present post office was constructed. So that would be this one here. On the site of the old convict depot and hospital. The bell no longer tolls the hours. The tower remains an important landmark in Guildford. And that is so true. It is an important landmark of the Guildford area. As we walk down from the post office, we come across some red brick buildings, one being the Mechanics Institute. They all have little plaques out the front to represent information and what they used to be. The Guildford Village of Potters, pottery and paintings, and even a gallery is here. I like the fact that it's got a ramp for those that require one. This building though used to be Taylor's cottage. The Taylors built 2 more cottages on the block at 3 Meadow Street, both of brick. The 3rd cottage still stands. I'm guessing that could possibly be it down there, but I'm not 100% sure. As I was walking around the Guildford Heritage little precinct, I came across a sign that was saying Guildford Police Quarters, 1909. And that used to be, well, should I say, not used to be, but is now the Village of Potters. There are informative little maps as well in this little area. And this is where the Taylor's cottage is. Lovely little area. I highly recommend coming down here and just going for a little bit of a walk, even going into the tourist bureau and getting information on Guildford and this little heritage precinct area. So it has public toilets, and this is in the back of the area that I'm videoing now. It's got the old colonial jail. Entry fees do apply, and there are tours available as well. I won't video it all in here, as that will spoil the surprise for when you come down with your youngsters or even yourselves. The Tourist Bureau has a lot of information about Guildford, the Swan Valley area, and it used to be the old courthouse. There's also a little museum in it as well. So once again, I recommend coming down and having a look at the history of the museum and of Guildford itself. This bell is what they called a curfew bell. A curfew bell was originally located in the grounds of the 10-bed convicts hospital close to the current Guildford post office. By current, I'm guessing that they're meaning the landmark one. The bell was rung at 10 p.m. nightly to warn ticketed leave passengers to be off the streets to return to the convict depot. Would have been interesting hearing that bell. Lovely to know that our streets were safe back then. And this is the front entrance of the old jail with the bars on the windows. How small it would have been to get into the jail. I'm just sort of standing in the doorway here now. And there is a sign here that says, mind your head. And I'm about 5'8". So maybe the convicts were a little bit taller. Who knows? I'm just thinking about the police quarters areas and that how small those cottages were. How many children lived in those cottages? And how cramped they must have been compared to housing of today.
Just over here we have the Guildford Town Hall, which is the original one that was built in the town of Guildford. Here we are doing a little town walk of the historic town within Perth of Guildford. In this little vicinity here we have a gelato place. That's also where you'll find the post office as well. Over here we have the rusty old boat, which I think is like a restaurant style. Here we have Alfred's Kitchen, which was established in 1946. This is an area, is very popular place to come and have lunch or even dinner. And in the winter months of the year, they have a nice lovely campfire that you can sit by and enjoy a campfire while having a meal. They also have an old railway carriage, which is actually a carriage from the South Australian Railways, which is interesting that they chose this particular one rather than going for one from Western Australia. Here we have the Natural History Museum, an Academy of Taxidermy. As we continue along, we'll see what else we can discover. I'm not sure what this building's used for. But as I was saying, the town of Guildford is a very historic town with lots of historic buildings. There's even plaques like this one here that you'll find along the way of a walk trail you can do. This one's talking about Bookman's house. Very interesting. Next we have this restaurant here, The King and I, which I believe is like possibly an Indian style restaurant. Soul and sand photography and a meta accounting. It's building here on the corner, the Guildford Hotel, was actually destroyed in a fire quite a few years back, and the townspeople did not want it to be knocked down. They wanted it restored, and through the idea of donations and through the town spirit, it was fully restored. I believe that is what happened. If I am mistaken, I do apologise. And here is a plaque explaining about the history of the Guildford Hotel. As I continue walking, we have this one here, an old style theatre. Continuing our walk, we have the lounge room on James, which is a nice, lovely little coffee shop. Looking for an old book or an interesting book title that's hard to find? Maybe try the Guildford Book Exchange. They certainly have a lot of old style books. Next up we have Well Standard Furniture Shop, Lifestyle Furniture. Then we have another coffee shop or cafe.